Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the feat, Agent of Order.
Justice and all things logical and in a line. Or you could be like, if you're doing an agent of order thing, you're either a Modron, like a little robot that's part of a giant cog in a bigger machine, or you're a paladin for some church as a cog in their big machine. Different
Or
kinds of
you
machines,
just,
general
or,
same loyalistness.
or you just want this particular set of skills.
Yeah, sure. It does require that you take the Sign of the Outer Plane's lawful outer plane prereq free feat, which gives you resistance to a damage type and a cantrip. It's fine, and by that I mean normally it's free. So like you'll probably be, if you get this as part of that, as part of a background, this is kind of like the first feat you can take, and then it's a lot more exciting than if you had to like take 2 feats in a row to get this. Because like I don't necessarily want to take 2 feats in a row to get this, but what you get is
All
I'll
right,
just read it.
all right. Lawful gives you resistance to force damage and the cantrip guidance.
Guidance is fine.
Yeah.
Pretty good. If no one else in your group has it. It's still like you still want to take that feat as a feat most of the time. In any case, Agent of Order is the one that builds out of that. So if you really want Agent of Order, maybe you consider this. And it says you can channel cosmic forces in order to gain these benefits. So the really important text about all of these is they increase any ability score of your choice by 1, which wildly opens up the quantity of characters that can put this on their character sheet, just because if you have an odd score in your highest stats, if you're a rogue and you have a 17 dex, if you're a monk and you have a 17 dex, if you're a warlock and have a 17 charisma, if you're a wizard and have a 17 int, all of those could take this to bump a score up by 1. Now, what you get on top of that is stasis strike. So once per turn, whenever you damage a creature, you can see within 60 feet of yourself. You can deal an extra 1d8 force damage to the target, and it makes a wisdom saving throw with DC of 8 plus your proficiency bonus, plus the modifier of the spellcasting ability you chose with the Sign on the Outer Planes feat as spectral bindings try to ensnare it. And that when you got the Sign on the Outer Planes, you picked a spell modifier for your cantrip, which might not be the same as the modifier you're adjusting here. So, if you picked like wisdom for guidance and you picked strength whenever you picked this, it uses your wisdom score, not your strength score. Anyway, so you attempt to ensnare a thing. On a successful save, the target escapes. On a failed save, the target has the restrained condition until the start of your next turn. These bindings manifest as chains or some other symbol of stasis. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you grant all expended uses when you finish a long rest.
That doesn't sound so bad.
Agreed. I don't know if it's like, I think this is definitely one of the better of the new Scion expanded feats. Like I think there's like 2 that I'm really interested in if I'm ever doing that kind of stuff. Agent of Order is one of those 2. The other one is the Chaos one, which we'll touch on soon. The rest of them don't have nearly as interesting text in my opinion, but this, at its baseline, like what kind of character wants this, right? It does have really important words. It doesn't say when you hit with an attack roll, it says when you damage a creature, right. You can see. Which means you can use this with saving throws. So it does open up potential for casters to use this, where otherwise they'd probably be down on it. Like, I like that I can mix this in with a Burning Hands and restrain one of the creatures and do a bonus d8 damage to it if I want to. That's kind of cute. I like that my Fireball can restrain a big bad at the same time. That's really efficient. Is that efficiency worth the cost of a feat? Is it worth the cost of 2 feats? Definitely not. So that's where I'm like, where do I really get this? How do I put this on my character sheet? Is this exclusive to Planechase or Planescape, or is this like a feat that you actually consider getting in other ways?
All right. Well, you've already kind of answered part of it. Yeah, it's not worth 2 feats. So this is for people who, for whatever reason, whether they got it for free or they had another reason to choose Scion of the Outer Planes, Lawful Outer Plane Edition, then you have to make this choice.
Is there a good reason to pick Sign on the Outer Plane, Lawful Outer Plane Edition over like any other feat that gives you a cantrip?
Well, I don't know.
That's not really. Like, how good is resistance to force damage?
I mean, all right. If you want resistance to force damage and guidance, and for whatever reason you want Agent of Order, then maybe.
I mean, I'm like, this is a feat I do genuinely want, right? Like, I think I can envision some characters having a really good time playing with this. I don't think it's like outrageously powerful. It's still like 3 to 4 d8 in the mid tiers, and 2 d8 when you get it at 4th level isn't amazing, right? As far as like dice go, and then the utility of the restraint condition definitely is what sets it aside as like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I love this on things like Rangers. I love this on things like Rogues, where you have like a pinning shot, basically. It's like a cool little toolbox trick you get now where you can be like, long distance, it's restrained. Sick. That's really cool. It can deny things actions that can be powerful.
Or like you said, any class that's doing damage, a wizard fireballs a bunch of people. I want to try to restrain that guy, and rogues and rangers, he's stuck. Have at him.
Yeah. I mean, it's never gonna be on the same playing field as a lot of the like necessary feats are, the feats that give you big perks to your builds. Like I think Warcaster is probably more important than this. I think Sharpshooter, Great Weapon Master, those two big offenders are definitely more important than this. So there's gonna be a lot of builds where feats are something that you're not getting an abundance of, and Stasis Strike isn't something that you necessarily jumps out as something you want first. Now, I do think there might be some merit actually to say that you could build a character whose concept is restraint. Like I love this on the Oath of Ancients paladin that gets Ensnaring Strike. As a character, his entire identity is just building around lockdown, and you do take this more aggressively than something like even Polar Master, just not because it's better, but because it will give you a better fantasy of consistently ensnaring things.
Yeah,
that I think is kind of interesting. I think that's a cool build direction to go in. It just means you have to have a forced background and everyone else gets tougher skilled, which is fine. It's that's not every table where that's going to be allowed. Not every table it's going to be using the two backgrounds presented in Sigil and the Outlands.
And if you are playing that restraint kind of character, I think I'd recommend reflavoring all of your restraining abilities to be similar to this. Spectral chains. That's not what ensnaring strike. I don't give a crap. They get spectral chains.
It's some other symbol of stasis, so maybe you reflavor this to match your other aesthetic, right?
Yeah,
maybe
or
you are
that,
doing
yeah.
the vines and stuff of a ranger. You could be doing, paralyzing fear or whatever. There's a bunch of different ways you can go with it if you really want to, and it does leave it open to interpretation. I like this. I think hits a good balance actually of the right amount of words for flavor, where it's a little bit of blurb as a recommendation, cool chains, or do what you will. I think that makes it a little bit more magical to me. I like that single sentence brings me good amounts of joy.
Good.
I don't know. I think Sign on the Outer Plane is genuinely a little oddity of a feat, and until they reconcile with everyone starts with a feat, there's going to be issues table to table, and at this awkward little intermediate point that we're at, where it's if you're not playing in Plane Chase, if you're not playing in Dragonlance, if you're not Planescape, I keep calling it Plane Chase. If you're not playing in Planescape or Dragonlance, then you're going to be like, can I take this background that's just better than every other background? No? Okay, that makes sense, but like then what? So
all right, so let me understand this. So as it stands now, Scion of the Outer Planes is tied to a background.
But it's also a feat you could take.
Right, but if you get the background, you get it for free.
Yes.
But if other players don't get the background, but you get it for free, do they just get a feat?
So the blurb above it says, if you take a background that isn't one of these two in this setting, you get skilled or tough, I believe. And I'm paraphrasing.
All right.
And skilled and tough are, I would say, about as good as maybe tough is slightly better in some niche windows, slightly worse than others. I think they're comparable to Sign of the Outer Planes. As like, oh yeah, these very clearly aren't as good as the vast majority of feats in the game. Skilled in particular is like, oh, this is not something I really think I need.
All right. The only reason I asked the question because if everybody else just got to pick a feat willy nilly,
you're getting the short stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like that's ultimately where a lot of times is going to feel like it's at, right? Where if you go, hey, DM, this background gives me a bonus feat, the DM go, oh, cool, that means I'll just give everyone else a bonus feat and it'll be fine. And then you'll be like, well, my bonus feat blows. And they're like, yeah, my bonus feat was Great Weapon Master. My bonus feat was Crossbow. My bonus feat was Magic Initiate or Strixhaven Initiate or any of the spellcasting ones. Like, you're going to be like, wow, I got a resistance I haven't used once in these 5 levels and a cantrip that my cleric can do. And everyone else is doing bonkers, busted stuff. But hey, I get Stasis Strike sometime soon when they also get other probably meaningful feat that's about as good as it. I love that.
Yeah.
So if you're a team out there and you have players that want to take this background, the background to give you the setup for this. And this is, I mean, we're probably going to talk about this every single time we talk about one of these feats, I think. I would recommend having a conversation with the whole of the group and be like, we were looking for feats around this power level. And then you can let it to be a little bit more open than that. You can have like discussions about, it's probably too good. It's probably not that good. Work it out on a case by case basis. But as far as like Stasis Strike on Agent of Order, it's a cool ability. This is a cool feat. I like this general design for these kinds of feats where it's a little bit of a damage improvement that goes on a wide variety of sheets. This thing is able to go a lot of different places and will show in a bunch of different builds that I think makes it a lot more interesting than like your average great weapon master, right? Like I know exactly what a crossbow expert is going to look like. I know exactly even what like someone taking Magic Initiate for Find Familiar. It's like, yeah, that's kind of a known quantity. I know exactly what's going to bring to the table. With Stasis Strike, it's going to change a bunch of different elements. It's going to make some characters use it on attack rolls, some characters use it on ranged attack rolls, some characters use it to relock things in place, others use it to prevent engagement. There's a lot of little flexibility and nuance there that I think is pretty cool. It's just a shame that it's really hard to get.
Yeah. One more question. This kind of going off topic a little bit, but do you know in the next version of this edition of D&D, are they planning to just like tie free feats to backgrounds like across the board or what?
So to my knowledge, I have not done a comprehensive full reading of all the playtest documents as of late. From my understanding, the premise is there are going to be feats that are available at first level that everyone gets as part of their background system. But most of the good feats are going to have fourth level prerequisites. So basically there are starter feats, and then there's going to be feats out beyond that that are what you can think of as the more regular, normal, powerful feats that are bigger and splashier on builds. Why they don't just become background features is beyond me. But, you know.
Yeah, I like the idea of some of the weaker feats being tied to backgrounds.
Yeah, me too. I wish they would just change them to not be feats and let feats be their own independent thing and use a different system for background abilities.
I'm absolutely fine with them still being feats, but I just I don't think I've ever once made a character in 5e and cared about their background.
I mean, the people that really do, it has nothing to do with the abilities you get from it, right?
Yeah.
Like, the variant custom background thing is just how I've made every character I've ever made since I started playing this game, which is you get 2 skills of your choice. Great, that's my background. And then you just work within whatever else you need to, right? And it's just a way that characters can sort of establish their agenda, their agency, what makes them them. And the little abilities. You can rest with a discount of gold if you know the organization that you're resting in. It's like, who's ever cared? No one. And they like, oh good, I saved 3 copper pieces not having to pay for lodging here. Thank God I've got this background ability. I think making the background abilities better by making them attached to these weaker feats is a good decision. It's just, the feat system I think probably could use overhaul.
Yep, I will 100% agree with that. All right, back to Agent of Order. What do you think?
I like the feat. Honestly, if I were DMing for you and you're like, hey, this feat's sweet, I want to take it, but I don't have sign on the outer planes, I'd be like, that's fine. I would waive this prereq all day, every day, because it doesn't really serve much purpose here, right? Like, I get the idea is the fantasy's expanding on it, but this isn't powerful or crazy or anything like that. This is a neat little toolbox. They are a neat little tool to put in your toolbox of a thing you can do on some of your abilities 2, 3, 4, 5 times per long rest. And that's not a ton of times, but it's going to make things like Battle Master fighters love this kind of thing, right? Things like, Thief Rogues and even Barbarians, I can see taking this as just a way to make them have another thing to do, right? There's going to be a decent chunk of characters that are happy with getting this restraint, and having it gated like this makes it a lot worse. So, maybe throw the gate out. That's how I would house rule it. If rules is written, you have to get the sign on the outer planes and it's not as a background, I have a really hard time justifying ever going 2 feet deep for this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm rating this on the assumption that you got Scion of the Outer Planes free and you chose lawful outer because you wanted that flavor.
Yeah. And in that case, honestly, I think it's like a 4. I think it brings a lot to the table. The restraint condition is good. It does a lot of things at all the different tiers of play, and you get more uses as you go on. You can stick it on any form of damage you get. So many characters will want this. I think it's great. It's just, getting it's hard.
This is another reverse one. I think it's all right. I think it's pretty good, but not 4 good. I'll go with 3.
I could definitely see there being encounters where, like, against 1 or 2 enemies back to back to back, this feat just dumpsters them, right? Where like the rogue just goes, great, stasis shot or stasis strike at round 1, it's not moving, everyone hits it with advantage at a range, it doesn't do anything, turn after, do it again, and then the encounter's over. So that single enemy just got bodied by a single feat, which is cool.
That is cool.
It's not going to be every encounter, though. It's not like game warping. But I do think there is a genuinely lot of power to be had here at all tiers of play, which makes it, I think, relevant.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm overhyping it. Maybe that doesn't deserve a 4, but I think it's...
now I'm thinking maybe I underhyped it, but no, I'm sticking with my 3. You stick with your 4.
We're definitely like wild speculation here, but still,
absolutely.
It seems like it could be good.
All right. Well, that was Agent of Order. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let us know what you think in the comments. Have you used this yet? How's it been? Whatever. How's your day going? Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.